Imagine that you're walking the halls of the university that you're attending working towards your medical degree. You've joined classes, you've been working for a couple of years, and your diploma is in sight. And one day you're walking down the hall, and over the broadcast system announces that the board of directors has decided that women are no longer allowed to take classes and can no longer get their diploma. You're like, wait, stop the bus. What just happened? Did I hear that right? You talk to your friends, they also heard it. Rumors are spreading, lots of whispers. Then you find out that it's true. All of a sudden, the board of directors decides that there's no reason for women to attend. It's not really benefiting the school, so you're out. Now, the 2025 you would be marching down to the admin office and telling them what they can do with their banning. Unfortunately, the 19th century you wouldn't have those options because unfortunately in the 19th century, women's educational opportunities were very limited, especially at the higher education. And unfortunately, Cordelia Hickox, who is the star of this story, that was her experience. She was in college, had to deal with being banned, and then was determined to graduate, which she did a decade later. This is her story. Hey, this is Sarah, and you're listening to another episode on Ladies First, Not Really. It was 1873 in Cleveland, Ohio, and the graduating class of the Cleveland Homeopathic College was gearing up for their graduation ceremony. Amongst the graduates was Cordelia Hickox, holding her diploma at 46 years old, finally able to cross that threshold and earn her degree as a physician. Cordelia was born Cordelia Post in 1827 in St. Lawrence, New York. At some point, her family moved to Ohio, where she met Charles W. Hickox. At the ripe old age of 16, she and Charles married on September 25, 1843, in Bainbridge, Ohio. Over their 55-year marriage, they had 3 children, a son and 2 daughters, James, Kitty, and Grace. In 1861, the Civil War broke out, and by 1862, it was clear on both sides that the war would not end with a swift Northern victory, as was initially thought. The Hickoxes decided to move to Iowa and made a new home on a farm in a small town named Mount Vernon. Charles was a grocer for many years, and Cordelia raised their 3 children while pursuing her passion for medical knowledge to assist the residents in her town. But as time went on, Cordelia decided to pursue her desire to become a doctor. But women with doctorates were rare at this time in America, especially since most colleges did not even allow women to attend. The exceptions were homeopathic medical colleges, who were mostly open to both men and women. A homeopathic medicine were the primary medical practices based on experiments and plant-based remedies. Homemade remedies, poultices, and tonics had been used for centuries and can be found in the 19th century best practices literatures. This continued into the early 1900s when medical-based science and prescriptions began to grow and standardize. Medical colleges also existed in the 1800s, but the medical science was still fairly new and not well understood. So several homeopathic colleges existed throughout the 19th century to expand the number of doctors and teach the homeopathic research and experiments known at that time. Graduates used the doctorate diploma and practiced medicine as a physician. The first decade after the turn of the century shows most commercial products, then homemade medicines, as the industrialization in America continued to thrive. So here we are, 1862, Cordelia enrolls in the Homeopathic College. She was the first woman to, not the only, but was the first. But in 1863, the college closed its doors to women, so she was no longer able to attend. The board of directors says, no more women, we're done, it's over, you're out. For the next 10 years, she continued her passion to practice medicine to the residents in her town. Now, in 1868, the college had an epiphany and realized that women students would actually benefit the college. Who knew? In reality, it was because several banned women at the time started a women's college. It was small, but successful, and its success helped the men at the Cleveland College come to their senses. Cordelia was determined to graduate from a co-ed college, so she went back to Cleveland and at the age of 46 in 1873 graduated with her diploma. She practiced in Cleveland for 1 year and then moved to Cedar Rapids, which is Linn County, Iowa, in 1874 due to Charles's health declining. So in Cedar Rapids, they purchased a home at 521 First Avenue East in 1881. Charles had left the grocery business years ago, and decided to assist his wife with their financial affairs. Her husband was willing to drop his profession and take care of their financial affairs so she could thrive. In 1898, at the age of 78, Charles died from heart failure. For the next 7 years, Dr. Hickox continued serving her community. The Gazette paper in Cedar Rapids reported that after attending one of her patients on February 17, 1905, she became ill with a congestive chill. On February 27th, she died at the age of 78 and was buried at Oak Hill. Cordelia was a pioneer in her own right. As one of Iowa's first women physicians, first female to enroll in the Homeopathic College. She was banned because she was a female with no other justification. That was it. Your anatomy decides whether you can be in or out. She refused to give up and graduated a decade later. The writer of the article in the Gazette added a personal note as to their observations of Cordelia's character, and I think it's important to read out in order to finish her story. The noblest thing a person can do in this world is kindness to others. During the 30 years we have known the doctor, she has never lost an opportunity to do good to somebody, anybody in fact needing help. No night too dark or stormy for her when duty called. She was always prompt in response to appeals for medical assistance, no matter whether the one wishing aid was rich or poor. Nobody will ever know the thousands of cases of her charity and benefactions. Many a home will be saddened by her passing on. She met with wonderful success in her profession, never boasting of what she had done. Mrs. Hickox always went at her work of relieving the sick with the determination to succeed. She was a good, noble woman, and leaves a record that would be highly prized by many another. A record of great success, honor, and good humanity. The Gazette, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, February 27, 1905. How awesome is that? To have that paragraph written about you, not boasting about what she had accomplished or who she was, but just there to serve. I think it's an awesome testimony to her character. Cordelia is one that we never see written in the history books, but the fact that we can talk about her 120 years later after she died is amazing. Because who knows the lasting impact and the legacy that she left behind there in her town, in Iowa, and for female doctors following her footsteps years and decades later. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Till next time. For more information, visit my blog at rebelliouscorsets.com.